Well, good afternoon. Thank you to everyone joining us today for the second installment of our 5-part fall webinar series. My name is Jessica DeGraff, and I'm the Director of Retail Accounts at Proven Winners. My role is really to support our IGC customers with key marketing programs and tools that help you to not only engage and connect with consumers, but also to better direct those consumers to you as the local trusted source for Proven Winners products. Before I turn over the presentation to our guest speaker today, I wanted to run through just a few housekeeping items with you. So first and foremost, all attendees will be in listen-only mode. But that said, we absolutely love your interaction. And there are a couple different ways that you can communicate with us. So there's a photo of a toolbar on the screen here that you can see. You can connect with us in two different ways. You can click on the chat icon and type your questions there, or there is also a Q&A icon that you can click on, type your question in there, and my colleagues and I will be monitoring those questions throughout the session. Our speaker today is going to take a few breaks during the presentation to entertain questions, and then John will also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So really the goal of the fall webinar series is to provide you with valuable advice from top industry consultants on really critical topics that are affecting our industry right now. Last week, we were blessed to have Leslie Halleck join us to talk a little bit about trends and how to create trends and drive them instead of just react to them. And today I'm really excited to talk about another hot button item, and that's labor. And more specifically, how you as a garden center can attract and retain good employees. I'm really excited today to introduce our guest presenter. Many of you are familiar with John Kennedy, but for those of you that have not met John, you're in for a real treat. John is a professional speaker, strategist, and author who for over 2 decades has really been building and delivering leadership, teamwork, sales and success strategies to companies and agencies all across North America, one innovative idea at a time. John is a true wealth of knowledge and he talks fast. He's going to give you a ton of information. So I'm going to tell you to buckle up, get your notepad ready and enjoy. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Oh, well, hi, Jessica, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Greatly appreciated. I was actually praying at the moment that you were saying John speaks fast to actually speak slowly. So hopefully I don't disappoint. What I do know is that there'll probably be some traction and acceleration that'll occur, and it'll end up getting right back to my normal pace. Good afternoon to everybody from wherever you are throughout the United States or North America. My name's John Kennedy, and I truly am blessed, as Jessica stated, to be invited to be a small part of the big movement that Proven Winners has been doing for quite some time, including investing in your betterment in the series that they have this fall to help you on all aspects of your garden center business. My niche usually is in the soft skills people side, culture, team, communication. How do we get better? How do we focus on end results and goals? How do we function better as a team to be able to meet those goals on a daily basis? So Jessica and I go way back, and I'm not only in the garden center world. So I oftentimes work in other industries, tourism and travel, along with, strangely, the HVAC industry. And a client that I've been working with for about 6 years now is Ferguson. Ferguson, you'll see their trucks everywhere you go, anywhere in the United States. And we just finished last week a concept called One Ferguson. And One Ferguson means that we're all focused on delivering an exceptional customer experience as one united team. And as I was there in Chicago working with the One Chicago team, that'll be part of the One Ferguson team, I was talking about the issue of labor, attracting folks. How is it that it's been going about for Ferguson? Are you guys having a hard time in relationship to getting folks? And their answer was no, actually, we're doing pretty well. And I've been very lucky to be part of the cultural build. And for some of you who have seen me previously, I talk about the shark culture, success habits, accountability, respect, knowledge. And now it's sharks because safety matters as well. And over the last 4 or 5 years of building the shark culture, the Ferguson model on the East Coast, at least, has gotten to be pretty cool, to the point now that they're attracting people, that the folks that come to work for Ferguson are not because they saw an ad somewhere on Indeed or on some posting somewhere, is that somebody from Ferguson literally said, come join the Ferguson family. And it's because of how they behave and how they act and how they how they treat their employees. They call them associates, by the way, right out of the gate. So Ferguson associate, it's not an employee, it's an associate, an equal, if you will, to the culture of the organization. Another thing about Ferguson, when storms hit, and on the East Coast, Southeast as well, a year or two ago, a lot of folks that were employees, associates of Ferguson were in harm's way. Ferguson made sure that they had cash available. They literally swarmed the area, surged care to the families and the folks that work at Ferguson to ensure that they were not going to be damaged in any way, that they've got cash available if need be, water needed to be there. They did so much to serve the family, the associates of Ferguson, that started getting out. And all of a sudden now, as this pandemic occurred, and that problem has been certainly not just a trend, but a tragedy, they're getting more people than ever to come join the team. So as we hear, oh my God, it's tough to find good people. And I imagine that's probably true to some degree. But there are other stories that I must share with you in which it's not the case. And it's because they've created a culture of attraction. That the folks that work there, that are inside, that are living and breathing the culture, speak well enough about it that they want to protect the culture that they've been involved in creating, and fortunate, lucky, grateful, and blessed to be part of it as well. But that they're really selective to who they would want to come join. They don't want them flashing out a big, huge push. Hey, come join the team. No. We built this team. We want to be part of building the team from the inside out. So as Jessica had invited me to write an article about a couple of weeks ago, I guess, Build It and They Will Come, I was inspired by one of my favorite movies of all time, Field of Dreams, and Kevin Costner as an actor as well, right? And I know for my bucket list, I'm going to find that field in Iowa, and I'm going to watch a perfect baseball game because it just seemed to be perfect, right? And that Build It, They Will Come is true. Yet at the same time, you can't just be lazy about it. You can't just expect that if we've got a beautiful garden center with great plants and great people, that naturally that's going to attract folks. There has to be an effort as well. And then the question is, who are you attracting? So I'm going to come at you a little bit here because I've been doing this a long time, luckily. And a lot of you that have seen me before, you know that we want to make sure that we are addressing the current customer base of employees. And I use the word customer and employees interchangeably because oftentimes your best employees sometimes are your customers. Have you been letting your customers know who love come shopping here that we do hire and we would love to have somebody that's a customer? In many of the garden centers that I've been fortunate to work with, when I ask an employee, hey, how long you been here? About 9 years. Tell me how you found this place. I was a customer first. Happens all the time. Why are we having a hard time hiring people when many of the people that we hire have been with us for years? There are customers. There was a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross. If you haven't seen it, rent it. It's an old David Mamet play that was made into a movie. It talks about sales, building a sales culture, and coffees for winners is one of the lines. But another line from the movie that stood out is always be closing. Always be closing. Don't wait for the end of the month to try to close all these deals. When I talk to clients, they're like, yeah, we can't have you buy here. It's the end of the month. We really have a hard time trying to close stuff at the end of the month. Why are you waiting until the end of the month to land stuff? My God, if we were as busy at the end of the month doing all of our sales work to close these pieces of business before the end of the month, imagine if we took that last week of the month and moved it to like the second week of the month. How much more successful could we be if we pretended it's the last week of the month? Same thing holds true with recruiting. Why are we waiting that now people have left and looked for jobs elsewhere? Why are we waiting now to really run through and try to get people to on board when maybe we should have been doing it all the time? First takeaway. Ready for it? Always been recruiting. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. There should never be a moment that we stop. We should have a Wednesday from 1 to 3 open call for anybody who wants to stop by and take a look at us. That's one thing that we should be doing. It's a stand up, nonstop, always there, consistent way in which we're always recruiting. Let's not wait till it's a crisis before we realize it. Okay. Second takeaway. You ready for it? It's not as bad as you think. Leslie, on October 12th, when she was talking about chasing trends. We're good at chasing trends. And then she said something insightful. She said, I don't really talk about trends. I observe and then I decide. And I went, ooh, good one, Leslie. So good one, Leslie. I observe and then I decide. Something about our industry. Jessica was kind enough to share with me some information a while ago. She might have forgotten that she did it. And it's a study from the Gardener Survey for the National Gardening Association, right? And 18.3 million new people during COVID came to our industry. 18.3 new people that were not into gardening, people that were not into garden centers, people that weren't around enough before to be able to notice that your garden center was across the street from where they worked and they've driven by for 10 years. And many of you, I've known you anecdotally say, we had about 25% new people come to our garden center during COVID. Awesome. Why are we not looking at the 18.3 million new people, and some of which are customers of yours, to let them know, hey, if you don't like where you are, come work here. Don't wait. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. And the largest number in the change in that demographically, disproportionately, in fact, let me read it to you because it's kind of fascinating. The survey reveals a more diverse and divergent gardening population. There was disproportionate growth of gardening among traditionally less well-represented groups, including younger families, renters and apartment condominium dwellers, and Black and people of color gardeners. Disproportionate growth, meaning more than any other category, these folks came to us. And when they do they see people working there that look like them? I've spoken in audiences in the green industry. It doesn't. I'm seeing this, I'm coming at you straight, that there is seemingly what we used to do back when 10 years ago, and the people that work here and the people that are coming here may not absolutely reflect the new changing demographics of the folks that are currently either customers and or maybe possibly employees. Now, there are some exceptions, and I mean that, but I speak at your conferences often, and it's a sea of white people, mostly over the age of 50. So how are we, did that hurt? I'm sorry. How are we looking at attracting folks that are currently those that are tethered to our industry and see absolute love for gardening and wanting to be outside, and at the same time reconsidering their lives because COVID did that? The great pause, if you will, did that. Two things happened during COVID that I've noticed, right? Trend, I don't know. I'm with Leslie. I'm going to observe, and then I'm going to decide. And here's what I've observed, and here's what I decided. It accelerated. That's the first thing it did to businesses. And many of you know that. You now accelerated to online platforms. You now have Shopify to be able to have your stuff sent or shipped or delivered. You did stand-up, curbside pickup. You know, why? Because we had to react to it, because it was an issue. It accelerated decisions that you probably would have made at some point, but had to out of crises, because that's one of the types of changes that we get. And we stood up these type of new innovative platforms that if we thought about it, we could have done, but hey, we didn't have to until now. COVID accelerated change in our industry. All right, thank God, because at least we're changing. We're changing now more than ever. So COVID accelerated, but two, COVID amplified. COVID amplified. What I mean by that is if there was an unhealthy marriage and that unhealthy marriage was stuck in a house for weeks on end, my guess is it probably amplified an unhealthy marriage. The unfortunate, tragic statistics of domestic violence that was occurring during COVID is stunning, to say the least, and certainly problematic as well. It amplified already an issue. If you had a good team working prior to COVID, they were firing on all pistons, oriented, values, they had vision, they had volition, they knew everything they were supposed to do, they were rewarded for it, we had communication systems in place, we were rewarded for the work that we did, we had great customer experiences, we were all functioning great as a team because we invested in that before COVID. When COVID happened, it amplified that. It amplified it. I know of a great garden center in Rockledge, Florida called Rockledge Gardens. And that team had been working for years to build a world-class team. So when COVID happened, and certainly there were challenges that were there, they came through that better than they were prior to, because they had a strong team and culture to begin with, strong leadership, strong ownership, strong customer base. And they amplified that and got better because of it. So when we look at the challenges of hiring and getting people to come on board and nobody wants to work and it's tough to find good people out there, I guess if you're looking outside, maybe you should look within. Are you creating a culture in which the employees matter, feel certain things, like where they are, speak well of the organization, want to stick around? We'll talk about that in the next week, a culture of retention. And not only hang out and work here, but become part of your marketing arm to bring new people on board and let them build the team of the future by having them be part of either a referral program or, hey, even part of the interview process. Rockledge does that. If there's an employee that wants to come work there, we're going to have a first round look, and a couple of people are going to be saying, do we want to have this person on our team? That's cool. And you know what the other part is? The team person that's maybe looking at Rockledge Gardens is like, I like this. So you all interview? We do. We're a team. Come join our team. We want to be part of that. So if you already have a strong culture, build upon that. And if you don't, that's what a lot of the majority of this work is about today. How do you create a culture of attraction? So that was a good, 10-minute rant or so on beginning the stages, amplify and accelerate, right? We talked about that. We want to be able to look from within our employees that we currently have and our customers that we currently have in front of us. How do we leverage that opportunity? And last but not least, go ahead, say it out loud. Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. We should always be looking at who's that next person that's going to be able to join the team. So with that premise, let's move into the first thing. Good organizations that build a culture of attraction have vision. They know where they're going. They have a direction in which they're moving, and they let the team know. The team is excited about it. The team is engaged in it. The team is oftentimes communicated about it, and the team has a say in the direction that they're going. And that should be touted. We should be creating a video that tells people that want to come and work in our organization in the great green industry, in the garden center world in particular. Here's our vision. Here's what we stand for. This is what we believe in. And if you want to be part of what we believe in, we want to talk to you. These are becoming popular now. I've been blessed to be invited to build 4 or 5 onboarding videos for clients in your industry that tell the story of what it's like to work here and what values we have, which is the next piece. Here are our core values. Recently in Avon, Ohio, creating a values, vision, and volition for folks in the nursery industry here in our world, right? And I guess I can openly say it. Why Willoway? Why Willoway? Why would you want to work here? So we went there and told the story of a great business model that Tom has and Emily's working to build, and the entire team, by the way. And the video reflects the diversity of the folks that work there and tells the story about the vision of the organization, the values that they espouse, 7 of them in particular. And the volition means the willingness to want to be able to get better. How do we get better? They call it play to win. How do we play to win? How do we play to win? So vision, values, and volition are a really key start or foundation builder for you to be able to attract a culture of employees and customers that may want to work with you. Hone in on it. What do we got? October 21st or something, right? So we'll probably finish up the year, November, December. Some of you go through the Christmas season. Some of you kind of pull back. But this is the time to reinvest in strategy for what next year is going to look like. And the attraction and retention of talent should be high on that list, right? So if you want to do that and we want to be able to build it so that they come and always be recruiting, the wisdom would be, how do we focus directly on our clear, concise understanding of our vision, where we're headed, our values, what we believe in, what guides us, and the volition, what drives us, what makes us tick. So what I just walked through is really a great day investment with your team to hone in on that. before we look to get people to come work for us, maybe we should put an inside job opportunity and figure out how can we make it better inside first, so that we want to have a place where people would want to work. Because Ferguson is turning away people right now. There are a lot of people wanting to work there. I have 4 or 5 clients. When I ask, how's it going when it comes to finding people? You know what? Not that bad. We got a fair amount of people that we're able to look at. And I'm wondering why? Why is that the case with you? But everybody else I'm hearing is talking about it's tough to find good people. It's tough to find good people. When I was speaking September, so last month, at the Garden Center Group, Danny Summers and the Garden Center Group in Delaware, I did some new work on bias. We chatted about that. If you don't know about the Garden Center Group, take a look. And the Garden Center Group, at that point, I talked about bias, this belief system. And one of them is called confirmation bias. And the second one is called limiting beliefs. Let me talk about the first one, confirmation bias. If I believe something, what I typically do is to look for examples and situations in which support my belief. So if you believe it's tough to find good people, which is your choice, right? You're going to then go and look at all the places that have the now hiring and all the stories on Facebook about people not showing up. And all of that is going to give you the belief system that it is tough and it is bad. And it's not just me. You know, this happened 10 years ago during the recession when you were at ANLA or Cultivate, which was a different name at the time. And we were all talking about how tough it was and it's tough. And you're like, well, you think it's tough? I'm tougher than that. And we were comparing on how bad it was. And the new up is flat. The new up is flat. I remember that trend. The new up is flat. Okay. If you believe that it is, then it is. And then you'll seek out people that have the same problem as you. And you're like, yeah, everybody's that way. And then there were people that were quietly going, I'm up. I just don't want to share it with everybody because it would make them feel bad. I'm up. I'm up by squeaky 4 or 5%, but I'm up while everybody else was down. Why? Because they were doing things always, not just in response to. They weren't, as Leslie stated, chasing the trend. They were living the trend on a daily basis. So a vision directs an organization, values guide the organization, and volition drives the organization. If you take time to set those 3 up between now and the end of the year in a good strategy meeting with your team to say, in order for us to attract new people that want to work here, let's build the house from within because it's an inside job, build it and they will come. That's the first thing. And the second thing is meet them where they are. Because if the trend shows that there is a change in the dynamics and demographics of people that shop at our garden centers, and we find that oftentimes customers become our employees, where do we meet them? How do we find out where they are? How do we go and let them come find us? Now, that could be at a job fair. That's meeting people at a place. I get that. It could also be, if you're a farmer's market, going to a local farmer's market that's down in the downtown area and bringing your wares to where people are shopping so that now you have a new group of people that are like, wow, where are you? Well, we're a little outside of town. We're about 9 miles out, but we'd love to have you come out and hand out some cards about, hey, come visit the garden center. Oh, by the way, we're always looking for people to join our team. It's not desperate. It's the truth. We're always looking to recruit. We always want good people to come join the team. So head on out beyond your garden center. Bring your wares somewhere else that people can see you and say, wow, I'm going to come out and visit. And at that point, now the team's doing a great job. And your customers might say, wow, maybe you're hiring, because what's happened to them is that they were in jobs that accelerated quickly and burned them out. I know too many people that had happened. And they were in jobs that were bad to begin with that then amplified, and the job that was bad became worse during COVID. Those people are looking for work. They're not on the couch. I know that that's a saying that everybody wants to say, that they're being fed by the government and they're just lazy and all that stuff. Sure, if you believe that, have at it. But my true belief of people is that they want to have a job that gives them purpose and respect and dignity, and they want to be part of something bigger than just themselves, and they want to be part of the team that's moving something, that's doing something, that's creating something, that's changing something. They want that. Not everybody. 2 or 3 out of 10, absolutely. The other 7 or 8, meh. We're going to introduce you to the Container Store. Some of you who have seen me previously, you've seen this before, but the Container Store has a unique model. I'm not looking for a bunch of people. We're looking for one great person. Because we know that one great person can absolutely do the job of 3 mediocre people. Stop going after the numbers of people. Go after the quality of the people. At the Garden Center Group. Suggest you take a look at them. Gene Seawright is an HR specialist and had a lot of great insight on what the issue relating to the attraction of talent is. And there are some folks, some of which I just spoke to today, that on their website have signing bonuses. $2,500 if you take this job, $2,500 if you take this job, $1,000 if you take this job, $500 if you take this job. And I'm like, okay, that's your choice. It's your money. Maybe you should invest that money that you're giving to people that may or may not stay, take your money and leave. I mean, imagine you hire 4 people at a $2,500 bonus for signing up. 4 people, $2,500. Liberal arts major. How much is that? $10,000. 10 grand thrown out the door for people that maybe want to take the job and then 3 months later leave. I don't know. Take the 10 grand and reinvest it in an onboarding video and developing a better team and rewarding the folks that stuck through COVID and did a great job and want to be able to speak well about the organization that they support. Use your money wisely and investing it inside. It's an inside job. Hey, I know I've been ranting for a bit. I think we're coming up on 2:25. I see a couple chats. Jessica, anyone, is there anything I should be aware of that that anybody have offended apparently already that said I'm out?
Not that I'm aware of, John. I was just asking the group sort of, what are they doing to attract new associates? And so, Russ shared that they have a referral program to incentivize employees, and kind of shared some of that. But I loved, your phrase that, always be recruiting. And I think that holds true, John. So I would say for now, let's keep rolling. And if we have more questions, we'll hit them a little later.
Very good. Thanks, Jessica. Wow. I feel like I'm on a radio show. Moving on. The line of one culture. So then if we're going to build a culture of attraction, how do you do it? There's a great book I've read. I tout it to many of my clients that I work with. It's called Riding the Blue Train. And Riding the Blue Train, they talk about this element of a culture, the ability to create a solid and unified force of people, breath, and energy. There's an energy about a team that functions well together. And when COVID came and it amplified it, that energy was amplified and all of a sudden became attractive. And all of a sudden people are like, wow, you guys really hit it home. Are you guys hiring? That's the attraction piece. So a unified force of people and energy focus on accomplishing the same mission, the same end result, the same goal. Many of you who have known me for a while, I talk about the great game of business, where we get everybody aligned to be able to really work towards sales, improvement, change management, cost management. What do we want to consider to improve about the organization? And then we put it on the board and we measure it and we metric it and then we reward it. And it becomes this like, wow, this is really cool. We're all focusing on something together. We're all working towards a common goal. We're all a team. You know who does this really, really well? Geese get it. Geese understand the line of one culture. Geese fly in formation. They work as a team. They're efficient. They're 71% more efficient flying through the air because they work as a team. They literally are a line of one culture. And if you ask where we're headed, they know where they're going. They are going to north or at that point south. You know what they do? They realize that at the point when I'm in the front line, I'm working hard. I get that, but I'm not keeping score of who does more or who does less or who's not pulling their weight. We all work. Every job is my job. And when I get a little tired, I go to the back of the line so I can kind of chill out a little bit and slowly regain my strength to come back up again. They function as a team. Unbelievably, by the way. You know what they also do? They honk, not to say, hey, we're flying over, get your gun ready and shoot us out of the sky. They're honking to encourage each other. Hey, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. There's a cadence. There's a high five. Have you ever experienced that when you go to a retail environment and the employees, when they're walking around, you sense that they're all focused on something? There's a high five about something, a whistle that might occur or a honk that might happen or a word that is said across the radio that has everybody know something that we were all focused on just happened, which is kind of cool. That's a true team. That's the way it should be. And that's what people want to be involved in. And if you can create that culture similar to geese, where they all know where they're going, they all work and encourage each other, they have a natural buddy system that they're helping each other out, and they're doing it in an efficient way, that makes things a heck of a lot easier. And if geese can get it with the size of a brain this big, then why can't we as humans with the size of the brain this big work and function in that way? They're bird-brained and they're better than us because we're human. And here's something that I'm going to plant a seed and come back to in a little bit. But the willingness to be strangely counterintuitive, to be able to strangely think that maybe we need to let one or two people go. Oh my God, we can't do that. It's already tough to find good people. How about we're going to let people go if we need people? Well, there could be the case to be made that the people that are currently there that are underperforming are making it more difficult for everybody else, that they're pretty much able to say, well, life would be easier if Bobby wasn't here. But, Bobby's here, doesn't do but a half job. Shows up a little late. Nobody says anything, unfortunately calls out sick every single moment they possibly can. They're given 10 days a year to be sick. How many days are they sick? 10, 9? No, we gave him 10. He takes them all. Where there are other people like, I'm not sick. I'm not going to call out sick because I'm not sick. Why would I do that? And after a while, they start to think, wow, I'm working harder doing the right thing than this guy. And when this guy doesn't show up, which is 10 times a year, I work even harder at that. What did COVID do? COVID amplified that. What are employees that are good at what they're doing now thinking? I'm out. I'm going to go find a job somewhere else that holds people that are underperformers accountable for their work, because it's not fair to those that are doing their job to be here working harder because the leadership and the ownership is not willing to take a hard enough look at the talent that's currently here and maybe subtract a couple people in order to add to the team. Counterintuitive, strange math, very true. I've spoken about this for a long time on the main stage at ANLA back in 2004 and beyond. We should always be recruiting, but we should always be looking at holding people accountable. And if need be, replacing them with people that are going to feed the team and not foul it up. And the unfortunate thing is that we're forgiving people. We are generous to the almost, I'm sure there's a word I'm trying to come up with, to our detriment, quite frankly. And sometimes we care more about our plants than our people. We put more love, attention, and water and fertilizer and sunshine, if you will, to the plants that we sell and grow than the people that we actually have on our teams that help sell and grow them. And that's not all about love and giving them attention and sunshine and attaboy and attagirl and all that stuff. It's actually being fair enough to call somebody out for the bull crap that they're doing and saying that happens again, you're out of here. You would find a couple people step up and go, cool, I'm now leaning in on this team more than ever because of your willingness to be, courageous in your leadership to hold people that are currently not pulling their weight accountable. And COVID amplified that. Those that were slackers under the circumstances of COVID, absolutely, it amplified the fact that they were slackers. And you know what? You don't lose the slackers. They don't leave. They're happy having a job that's actually willing to let them get away with what they're getting away with. You lose are the good people. And that's what's happening. Good people are leaving. And now we're like, wow, I'm losing good people. For work that wasn't done before. COVID amplified all of it. If you had a bad team, you had a worse team. If you had a good team, you had a better team. So what are we doing to become more geese-like, if I may? And what are we willing to do to be able to hold those folks accountable? I introduced earlier the concept of the Container Store, and their value system is fascinating because it's on every wall if you go shopping there. They want customers who come shopping there to become employees. Come work with us. We'd love you to be part of the family. But by the way, here's what we stand for, and it's there on the wall. At the Container Store. Go take a look. Suni and I, when we bought our RV, we started to buy some things for the travel that we've been doing. Some of you might know we're doing this really cool thing with traveling and working and building things for folks in your industry. It's been absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. So we went to the Container Store to catch up with some stuff. A couple of things I noticed. Most of the employees were over the age of 40. Crazy. Meaning that there was a retention issue, that these people started their retail job and have stayed in the retail job. There's not this transient. And so I started asking, how long you been here? Been with the company for over 15 years. Used to work at another location. They moved me here. I was happy to be there. So they have a good retention issue. Why? Because one great person, as I stated before, equals 3 good people. It is not fair to have great people working with folks that are mediocre. And we've put up with and accepted mediocrity for a very long time. And your industry in particular, sorry to bite the hand that feeds me, is a lot more flexible and willing to be able to bend the rules and give somebody a second, third, fourth, or fifth try. Yeah, they came in smelling of alcohol, but they probably were just from the last night. No, I think that they were still drunk. So we're usually a lot more flexible than we should be. And we should tighten the reins and hold people accountable. And I'd rather wait and search for one great person that comes along because you found them and they're amazing at what they do. Years ago, I was working for an organization in your industry and they were seeking a salesperson. Tough to find good salespeople, and lo and behold, out of the blue, two of them arrived. Not just one, but two. And one of them you met earlier today. Her name's Jessica DeGraff. And when I met Jessica, I went, that's a great person. And it is no wonder that she's now at the lead, at the tip of the spear when it comes to Proven Winners. Proven Winners, by the way, just a moment, is a large donator to the Seed Your Future campaign. I know a lot of you on this call have. Suni and I also donated to it because we believe strongly that this shouldn't be a trend that we're on a treadmill trying to get new people in. We need to be going back to the 14, 13, 12, 11, 9-year-olds that are looking at what the career might look like in our industry and seeding their future then, not now. So take a look at Seed Your Future. Jasmine's doing a wonderful job. Invest in that. Proven Winners. Congratulations on doing that. And Jessica, you're an example of one great person that can make the difference between just three good people. We only hire great people. And if you have to wait a little longer, this client was looking for a year, but their wait earned them not just one, but two. I'll give the name of the other. His name's Tim Anderson, and Tim's a wonderful guy as well. Communication is leadership. Communication isn't just communication. Communication is how we lead our changes in our workplace. How you communicate is vital. We believe in practicing consistent, reliable, predictable, effective, thoughtful, compassionate, and courteous communication, a whole culture based on that. So that everybody who's asked, what are we doing? They don't do this. What's going on today? Not sure. Who's that? No, I think they're new. How are we able to communicate in a garden center environment so that everybody knows what's going on at any given time? I have a solution for that. I'll introduce you to that right at the end. Fill the other guy's basket to the brim. Making money becomes an easy proposition when it's a two-way street. We believe that we want to be able to have mutually beneficial vendor relationships because oftentimes your vendors who know you, who know the team, who know the culture, who respect you as a business could also become great advocates for recruiting. Hey, by the way, we buy a lot from you. Fill in the blank. There's a lot of you. And we wanted to know if you know of anybody that would want to be able to be in our environment, work maybe here at the garden center, keep an ear out for it. I've known multiple times where a vendor has called a garden center to say, hey, I know somebody that's across town. I call in their shop. They're not happy where they're working. Maybe you want to be able to reach out to them, or if you'd like, I'd be happy to tell them that you might be hiring. You didn't poach them. They expressed interest in somebody that they trusted. And at that point, they become a possible opportunity for you as well because of the law of attraction, because of the culture that you've created. The best selection, service, and price. Again, the things that they offer really set them apart from anyone else. The book, if you wanted to read it, is called Uncontainable, and it talks about the culture, not only of how they serve the existing client base and the existing employees, but how they attract new people to come and work there. And then, as we'll talk about next week, stay there. This is my favorite. Intuition does not come to an unprepared mind. They are fascinated and they're actually fixated on training. When most organizations might do about 100 hours of training a year to give their employees the skills that they need to be successful, the Container Store does 700 hours. 700 hours. They're always learning something. There's always something to learn. Training, investment in your staff, on best practices, sales, the care for, fertilization, and pruning of trees, shrubs, plants. Proven Winners does a great job at those types of educational tools. And there should be every morning a huddle, a chance to be able to talk about one thing that we're doing that we want you to know about. Kirby's down in Tampa. Every morning they have a product knowledge opportunity to say, here's something that we carry. We want to be able to tell you the top 3 things about this item that we carry so that all of a sudden the staff quietly is learning something new every day. And if you get a staff to learn something new every day, they become pretty sharp and knowledgeable. And they also feel like, wow, they're investing in my success. They're pouring water on me and not just the plant materials that we grow here. And that, one, can help out with retention. We'll talk about that next week. But 2, could have an employee going, the reason why I work here is that I'm always improving. We're always learning something to make us better at what we do. And it's not always professional. They've invested in me personally as well. I go to a certification program through American Hort. I do some type of state level at the Florida Nursery Growers Association to say, hey, I'm learning more about something as a certified. I'm working with Master Nursery Garden Centers as a certified horticulturalist so that I'm able to have that happen. We're investing in you. Intuition does not come from an unprepared mind. You know it because you've learned it. Man in the Desert Selling is a whole culture and how they help out with people and they measure it. And then last but not least, there is indeed an air of excitement. Within 3 steps in the door, you know that you're somewhere special. Tell me the places you go that have that. Few. Why not you? Why not strive to have 3 steps in the door? A customer goes, there's something different here. It's not only people, but an energy about the work that they're doing that's purpose-filled. And if you can build that momentum, if you can get that to happen and have the people that are heard and valued and respected to be working with you, you'll find yourself absolutely better than most others that are in the industry and the competitors. Oh, and by the way, they don't have to have plant knowledge. If you can create a culture that the employees are heard and valued and respected, and by feeding them those fertilizer items, just like our plants, they feel at that point understood for who they are and their diversity, different, because their needs are different. They might need part-time work instead of full-time. They might need to have a flexible schedule. They might need to be able to have remote work if that's the possibility. The work that's happening during COVID has changed the way in which people are coming to work. I wrote an article recently for the Garden Center magazine, for the Garden Center group. My apologies. I wrote another article for the Garden Center magazine. But the Garden Center group, I talked about the gig economy. Uber, gig economy. Instacart, gig economy. WeWork, gig economy. Fiverr, gig economy. There are a lot of things that are out there that there are the gig economy. And the younger generation of folks and the older generation as well might say, hey, you know what? Instead of me working one full job all the time, maybe I'll stitch together a couple. And there may be wisdom. There may be wisdom in adapting to, hey, there's certain jobs that we know that need just a few hours a day. Maybe we could have a gig economy and use some kind of an opportunity to have garden gigs as an app that says, hey, we've got this thing that's available. We're looking for folks to be able to do that. I'm sure that there's HR issues and legal issues and safety issues and all that stuff. I get it. But somewhere there would be wisdom in saying, how do we tap into the gig economy and have some of the jobs that we're doing on a daily basis that only require a little bit of time to be actually filled by folks that are doing that type of gig work? That's the innovative thought process that needs to take place. So when we look at meeting them where they are, it's not just physically somewhere, as I stated earlier. It's also intellectually where they are, in the manner in which they approach work. But it's also here, in the feeling part. And if I feel understood and purposeful and an equal partner and associate, as I talked about with Ferguson, if I feel that I am heard and understood, valued and purpose-filled, and I'm respected because I'm an equal partner, hey, I'm not only going to work here, I'm not only going to stay here, I'm going to actually be responsible to build a better team because I like where I am and I want to have only people that come in here that feed what we're doing better and not slackers that don't. Because you're only as good as the person who sucks the most. I haven't had said that out loud in a very long time. And I apologize, it's now recorded. There you have it. But you are only as a team good as the person who sucks the most. And then that was amplified during COVID. So those people that suck the most, let me introduce you to them. They're not these folks that are willing and able. Those are awesome. They're not willing and unable. You can train them. Willing people that have a good attitude can come to work. Spoke earlier today with the Garden Center group Garden Center member in Nashville. I said, you want to do sales, hire a salesperson, teach them plants. I don't want to hire a plant person to teach them sales. Plant people are in plants because they don't like people sometimes. Why are you forcing somebody that's uncomfortable to deal with people to sell? Hire a salesperson that's naturally gifted to be able to do it. I'm willing to sell. Just teach me what I need to know. Rethink the way that you're going about it. Oftentimes we hire people for the ease of it. They're knowledgeable. They've been in the industry. They've got a degree. Hey, it seems like a good fit. No, it's not. Because there may be plant people, but they're not people. And sometimes that backfires and you've already dealt with that. Unwilling and unable, those are the lost causes oftentimes that we misread them. We misunderstood them. The most challenging employee is, I'm unwilling to do what you're asking. Can you? Sure, I can if I want to, but I can't. I don't want to, so I'm not going to. And you can't make me. And that's that subtraction math equation that I introduced you earlier. Subtract in order to add. If you get those unwilling and able people off the team, the willing and able people will now stick around. What would really be the worst situation is currently amplified, tough time to find people. And the good people that you have are now leaving because COVID amplified the fact that the culture didn't support good people. It actually kept underperformers. That's what's at risk. So when do we change? When it hurts. When it hurts. Don't lose a willing and able person at the top. Don't lose your 20%. Don't lose your top people over your inability to hold accountable the folks that are underperforming. Because if you build that culture where people are then working and saying, you know what, we are held to account. It is a highly competitive environment, but we have fun doing it. We're respected for the work that we do. We always have a party at the end. A lot of great stuff happens if all these things go on. And you can create a culture where everybody is absolutely engaged. They will be responsible to bring new people onto the team. Give them the empowerment to be able to do so. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine and his business that does exactly that.
At Life Trends, our goal is to fuse nature and art to cultivate inspired lifestyles. We are a team of artisans, innovators, and dreamers. Every year, our growth is exponential, and to keep this upward momentum, we need excellent talent in all fields. If you are trying to achieve the impossible, break the rules, and imagine what's new, Life Trends is your home. Life Trends was launched in 2013 with a strong foundation based upon our 5 core values. These are the values we live by daily.
The core value that I resonate the most with is team is family. I really like working with people and helping them find their best.
You not only depend on these people to help you get your job done, but you still want to hang out with them like at the end of the day.
My favorite core value is achieve the impossible. We see it on a daily basis out here.
We're always trying to find new solutions to any problem that we have.
My favorite is craving for excellence. Quality is the basics, and we really try to push beyond that, and that is why we've as a company been able to get ahead.
The first thing that drew me to Live Trends was the design work and the attention to detail. That we're not just selling or delivering a plant or delivering a piece of art.
I think I resonate the most with passion for life. I'm a very positive person, and Life Trends is positive in its core. The human part of working here is so important, and it sets us apart the most. Like, we're not only employees, we're people, we're family.
My favorite core value is creativity in everything. To bring your ideas to life, express yourself and us as a company.
When it comes to designing, marketing, assembly, production, all of that, we really do in-house.
We're very lucky that we pull inspiration from every corner of the globe. I mean, we work with the best trend reporting agencies worldwide and individuals. So what you're getting at Life Trends is basically inspiration from everywhere, distilled into these amazing little products.
Fun because if you see our branding, if you see our displays at different stores across the country, those faces are the faces of people at Life Trends.
My favorite thing about Live Trends is the atmosphere that leadership brings. You know that they're down to business, but at no point do you ever feel intimidated to go up to them with anything.
Once you first step into the office, you just get this overwhelmed feeling of high-paced energy.
I believe that people should join Life Trends because it's much more than just the job. We treat each other like family.
If you're the kind of person who never wants to be bored, likes to be challenged, and likes to work collaboratively, then you would be great for our team.
If someone is looking for a great opportunity to further their career, continue their education, and become a part of a family-like team.
Makes it worth working here because of all the people that work here.
To be surrounded by people that are super creative, super fun, and welcoming, I think you should apply and do it.
At Life Trends, we believe that if you're passionate, you can achieve just about anything. Just announce it, and then the whole universe is going to conspire to help you.
And I thank Visser and his team for sharing that with us so that we could share that with you. I saw it on Facebook, and I thought it just amazing. And it speaks to what I'm discussing here today, that's a group of employees. Those are folks that are saying, hey, we want you if you align to our core values, that if what we offer is what you're looking for, then come be with us. A couple things that jumped out. We're not only employees, we like the human part. We are people. We are family. There's an energy, passionate. Those are all feel things. And back when, in the old days, when we would put together an ad on Indeed or Monster.com or Hort Jobs or whatever, it would be this position that earns this amount of money with these responsibilities. And we got into the habit of doing that. That's not what the new generation looks for. I don't want to know the facts about the job. I want to know what it would feel like if I worked there. So these videos, Bisser, well done. The Container Store has inspired me as well to say, I've done this before. Maybe there's a wisdom in being able to offer this opportunity to clients as well. So that ability to tell your story, oftentimes folks that are looking for jobs, go and search your website, go and search YouTube, go and search Glassdoor for other people that have worked there, but they want to look at what it feels like to be there. What does it feel like? So I would ask you, after watching that video, 3.5, 4 minutes long, would you want to work there? Here's the unfortunate thing is that maybe a couple of you are like, yeah, I want to go get hired by them. So, you give notice to the people that are on the phone here. My apologies if that happens, and good for Bisser for catching you. That's my conversation today with you. I spanned about 50 minutes. I'm going to open it up for Q&A and leave on the last slide. The last slide just gives you a sense of some of the things that I planted seeds and discussed about. From the communication standpoint, if you use the QR code right in front of you, you can get inside of our digital internet platform that we've created for garden centers that specifically allows you to be able to communicate, train, have everybody know what's going on at any given time within just a scan of a QR code. And then on the right-hand side, something that you've been hearing about me talking, agritourism life, you can keep an eye on that as well. But Jessica, I'm coming up on 253, 251, 252. I wanted to open up for Q&A, but I also know that you had some last minute thoughts that you wanted to close out with as well. What do we have in either the chat or in any Q&A that might be going on as people are writing now? And then let's close with a wonderful salutation from the great folks at Proven Winners.
Yeah. Thanks, John. And that was a ton of great information. And so one of the things that I got a text, and so I want to sort of ask you this question. So they were asking, you talked about accountability, John, as a way to protect the talent that you have, right?
Yes.
Because if someone underperforms, that people are frustrated and they leave. So can you talk about what that looks like practically, right? Aside from calling people out, how do we set the boundary and proper boundaries in the workplace?
So great question, whomever. Thank you. And the fact that they've got your number means they're kind of connected. So two things, right? There's the value side that it becomes obvious that if our core values are set up and somebody's not abiding by our core values, it makes the decision a little easier because there's just no alignment. We have a core value of honesty and they actually got caught a couple of times telling a lie. Or we have a core value of integrity and we found that they actually stole something. We have a core value of safety and they continue to be able to put others in harm's way as well as themselves. We have a core value of customer experience and they seem to be negative in relationship to the customer. So those are coachable moments. But if you have no core values, it's very difficult to guide an organization because they're not there. So set up some or revisit or dust them off because my guess is somewhere back when you had them. So that's on the more feel side, the value side, the people side. Let's look at the process side as well. Because on the other side of the continuum is the process of evaluations. Most garden centers running by the seat of their pants with, owners that are wearing multiple hats, and the review process and the evaluation process oftentimes doesn't happen. We used to do them quarterly, but we got busy, so we did them semi-annually. We got so busy that the semi-annual review became an annual review because we were only doing them annual anyway. Let's just call it how we do it. But there should be some measurement and metric about how are you doing in relationship to your job, knowledge, acumen, teamwork, communication, leadership, customer focus. I have certainly, and anyone that wants to reach out to me directly, I'll send them to you. Performance reviews on either an hourly or a salary employee to say, here's what a 2 behaviorally looks like. Here's what a 2.5 behaviorally looks like. Here's what a 3.5 and a 4 looks like. Those that were Cultivate, I threw that at you for free. So anyone, honestly, happy to. If you want to reach out to me directly or shoot it, no, it's not there. If you want to shoot me an email, have at it. I'll be happy to send those to you. So the process side is, hey, you're a 2 and you continue to be an underperforming 2. So metrically, you're not performing at the basic standard of a 3 or better. So we've given you coaching. You knew what the expectations were. You've chosen to not meet the expectations. We're going to let you go. So the process side, Jessica, the process side of review and the people side of values are two great instruments, not blunt ones. This one may be more so, to be able to use to leverage, to hold people accountable, to get them to a better level of success. And if not, have a document that says you've continued to underperform. In the description of what a 2 is, it is an underperforming, as is a 2.5. A 3 is meeting expectations. A 3.5 is exceeding. And a 4, you walk on frozen water. So those are the 2. And I'm happy to provide any insight that could be helpful to your client base, Jessica. Anything. Reach out, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help.
Okay. And what we can do, John, is actually when the recording is ready, maybe we'll just send that out with the recording so that everybody gets it.
Everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. This is like Oprah. Under your seat, you all get a book.
Great. Well, I have a couple other questions that I wanted to get to. So Matt asked a great question about, what do you think, John, are the biggest causes behind the Great Resignation, right?
Yep. So amplified. Let's go back to that word. If they were unhappy, COVID amplified their unhappiness. If I was not happy where I was, it amplified the fact that I wasn't happy where I was. And it gave them a lot of time to think. If you're in the day-to-day, you oftentimes don't have the long brain strategic thinking ability to say what's new and next for me. What's new or next? We stay in the now. But what's new and next became opportunities for people that were unhappy in their work that became amplified. So they're now walking away. It is indeed something of a truth. There is a great resignation. It is a realignment of the entire world, the access and the universe over a common thing that we've all gone through, which is called COVID. And it is challenging marriages just as much as reinforcing them. It is challenging employees for where they belong in the workplace versus reinforcing that they found that they really are, because they've heard other neighbors that are like, man, it really sucks where I'm working and it sucks even more now. And they quietly go, I'm pretty lucky I'm staying where I am. It is. But ultimately, to me, it's because of what the challenge was in the workplace that they currently had got amplified. If it was not a happy workplace, it became worse. But if it was a real good workplace, it became better. So as many that have left, I venture to say equally, if not more, have actually reinforced they want to stay where they are because they know they've got it pretty good with the people that stood up, leaned in, helped out, gave extra when they were in need the most. Those leaders, those owners, those cultures, those companies probably galvanized an employee base for quite some time. And one of them is in Florida. One of them is many are in Florida. Good question, Matt. Find me offline if you have any more questions. Who else? I'm going to give you time too, Jessica.
All right. So Cecily's got a question about, what tips do you have, John, for attracting seasonal help, right? Because in a lot of businesses, we have very, I would say, large peaks and valleys. And so how do we get those folks in? You talked a little bit about the gig economy. Maybe you can address that a little bit.
Well, I think that it has. There are people that are stitching together. I do part-time Uber. I do a little bit of Instacart. I'm able to say I want to work on a thing or not. I think it's become more of a trend that they're 40 hours a day, 5 days a week is going to no longer be the case. They're going to shift. It is titanically shifting underneath of us. So, boy, if somebody wants to become a venture capitalist and come up with an idea of an app that says this is the Garden Gig app, and you post on the Garden Gig app the night before, and hey, here's a opportunity for the day or the week. That's maybe the case. So there are, I think, a better chance now of finding seasonal people than I do full-time. And it may very well be that we're not going to ever again have, other than management and leadership, maybe full-time people, because the one of the workplace might very well be, I can survive on less because I've learned that I did. And I want to be able to not be giving all the time. I want to be able to have time to be able to put into my family and my faith and my health and the things that matter to me. So I'm going to be comfortable working 30 to 35 hours a week. And maybe I only work X amount of time during the season. And then I go and hang out in Florida. I wouldn't say be worried about it. I'd actually do the opposite and lean into it because I think it's a trend of the future. And I know Leslie said don't chase trends, but in this instance, I think it's actually going to be the way that the workplace in our industry, in the gearing industry, is going to be for quite some time to come. And COVID brought that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, John. So I'm going to wrap it up with one last question for you. So let's just say you've got a small budget, right? How do you invest in that creation of a culture of attraction? What is step one with even a shoestring budget? How would you do that?
quickly ask the team, how do we get better? Look at the people that you currently have in front and say, we want to be able to foster a culture of make it better. Let's work on one thing this week that we could do to make it better. Don't try to change the whole year. Change 1 week. What one thing can we focus on this 1 week that we all agree could make what we're doing better? Suni and I with Agritourism Life, that's our whole motto. The whole thing is solely based on 3 words: make it better. And we ask, how can we do that each week? But if you do that for the time that we've been building this brand and this platform for 18 months, you got something pretty cool. Start slow, start small, start with the team that you have, build momentum. Over the course of a couple months, coming into January now, you got a galvanized team that have made it better 1 week at a time. Now you've got 3 or 4 things going. That's momentum. Momentum builds momentum. Start from inside. Start with your team. One thing, make it better. And then slowly but surely, that's free. Yeah, give them pizza on occasion. Challenge them to something that they could do. Whoever has the best idea, $50. Best investment you could make is to challenge people to come up with ideas to make it better and reward them on a small scale. You could for $500 have 10 great ideas and a great team that's willing to do it. That's my question. That's my answer. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, John. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put up one more, let's see, quick slide.
I stop share, right, Jess? I stop share?
Yeah, if you'd stop share for me, that'd be great. All right. No worries. So I'm going to share my screen here really quickly with you all. So, John mentioned there's a few things that we as a brand do. And let me slide to this. Here we go. To support and to help with staff training. And so the one thing that I wanted to just point out to you guys is we do a certification training program. We do that every single season. We filmed that already for 2022, and I'll be sharing a little bit more about that as we go through the webinar series. I know we've come up on the 3 o'clock hour, but the one thing that I wanted to point out is John shared just a ton of great information with us today. And John, I want to sincerely thank you for that. I think there's a lot of food for thought there. But one of the things that John's going to be talking about in the next webinar, so next Thursday, October 28th, is talking about, we talked today about attracting that new associate, right? So then John's going to kind of expand on that and talk about how do we create a culture of retention? How do we keep that employee at our business? And so if you haven't signed up for that webinar yet, the URL on your screen will allow you to do that. We would highly recommend that you join. And just want to remind you again, for those of you that had to jump off early, or if you want to unpackage more of what John shared today, we will have a recording of this webinar. And more than anything, just want to sincerely thank you for your time. Time is money, and it's a very precious resource, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And again, I really want to sincerely thank John for sharing his time and knowledge with us. It was a very fun afternoon, and I hope that you enjoyed it. So we'll sign off and see you next Thursday. Thank you all.